In this episode of Dr. Phil, Angie thinks her husband is having an affair.
Leslie was pregnant. It might be Joe's child.
I haven't seen one shred of evidence that he's having an affair.
I believe that if Leslie was confident that child was not Joe's, that she would take the DNA test.
Why do you need so desperately for him to be having an affair?
I don't. I just feel like my feelings are not being validated.
Is this a love triangle?
Both Leslie's willing to take a DNA test. They both said they'd take polygraph tests.
Or a wife delusion?
Angie, who accuses her husband Joe of having a 2-year affair with Leslie, who happens to be a friend of their daughter's. Now, both Joe and Leslie deny the affair, but Angie claims she caught them on the surveillance cameras that she had installed throughout their home. Now, Joe says Angie's obsession with this alleged affair is ruining everything in their lives. He says he's a prisoner in his own home, and Angie is the warden. Now, Angie says all she wants is to get the truth. Take a look at what happened yesterday.
The end of January 2017, I suspected Joe was cheating. I put my phone downstairs in the garage to record him. I heard what I believed was a female voice talking about having a secret affair. You're adamant about the fact that it was a commercial.
Could have been.
I decided to install the surveillance cameras because Joe kept telling me that the audio was not actual proof. Every once in a while when it goes into focus, I believe that I can see the buttocks of a woman sitting on top of Joe.
I know there was nobody there.
Well, I do believe it.
Are you 100% convinced that he's cheating on you?
I'm 100% certain, but he does make me feel sometimes like I'm just crazy. If I leave Joe in the home alone, I have major anxiety attacks. It has gotten to the point where I cannot even get a job.
Angie needs to work because we have almost lost our house.
We had to file bankruptcy.
I tell her over and over again that I'm not cheating.
Joe lying to me and making me feel crazy has made me spiral out of control.
When you say she's tracking where you go and what you do, you mean even if you go into the other room of the house. We're not talking about if you go to Cleveland.
Right.
Angie won't let him out of her sight. She thinks he's having an affair right under her nose with a 21-year-old friend of their daughter.
I believe Joe is cheating on me with a young girl named Leslie. Our family knows Leslie because she was friends with our daughter.
I know nothing about Leslie other than she's a female and she's in her 20s.
When I heard that audio recording, my suspicions were confirmed.
Tell me what you hear.
I hear a female voice whispering to Joe, and then he comes back with distraction. I don't believe she was in the home.
What do you mean she wasn't in the home?
I believe that they were either talking on the phone or something to that effect.
So he had her on the speaker?
Could possibly be, yes.
So he's just not very good at this.
I know it sounds crazy, but I still believe it because I've lived it. Leslie hung around our home for 3 or 4 years and was very close to our daughter, and I know what her voice sounds like.
I do not hear Leslie's voice because I really don't know what it sounds like.
Leslie says she is just a quiet young mother trying to start her life, and having an affair with a 55-year-old man is just not on her bucket list.
I don't want anything to do with Joe. I want Angie to leave me alone.
Leslie, why do you think Angie has targeted you?
I really don't know.
You actually think that he's bringing her not only into your home, but into your bed while you're in it.
Absolutely, I felt that way.
Is there anything you want to say to her while she's here? Because I'm not going to keep her up here this whole time because I want to talk to you two about your relationship.
Absolutely. I just wish that you two would come clean about what you've done to me and made me feel like I'm crazy because you know that you're lying about it.
Well,
yes.
We're really not.
And I feel very confident that that's the case.
Uh-huh.
She's here to confront you and ask you why you feel this way. She was pregnant.
You know
she was pregnant. I did ask for a DNA test and was denied that right.
No, actually, both Joe and Leslie agreed with us to take a polygraph
yes.
and a DNA test.
Absolutely. And I was hoping for that because at least maybe it would give me some type of
Me as well.
Do you think that they would agree to do that if
Yes, I would.
they had something to hide?
Yeah.
I do believe they would.
Nothing to hide.
For some reason, I would always get a response from her a day or two later, and it would always be something that Joe has said to me. My truth.
So
Joe,
wait, you're changing the subject. I ask you, she says you've sent her hundreds of text messages.
yes.
And
That's what
you
she said.
say 20. They say that they'll both take polygraphs and that she'll provide a DNA test.
Okay.
You say actually that now that you've seen the baby, it doesn't look at all like Joe. So you've kind of come off the fact that that's his baby.
I was never 100% convinced or anything that it was his child. I just wanted that confirmation and thought that if she believed that it wasn't his 100%, that she would have no problem doing that.
She seemed pretty convinced earlier when she brought it up.
Well, and also Joe has given me the response before that if that is my child, I will sue her for custody so that I don't have to pay child support. So a response like that from my husband, what am I supposed to think?
Yeah.
Well, you told me that for like a long time, so that was one
I
comment.
just asked you if it was possible, if it was your child, and of course
No
you said
way.
no.
Okay. Why do you need so desperately for him to be having an affair?
I don't.
Because she loves me and I love her.
But why do you need so desperately for him to be having an affair? Because you are working 24/7 to prove that he's having an affair. So you must need him to be having an affair. Why?
I don't feel like I need him to be having an affair. I just believe that it has happened. I have heard and felt way too many things. I know it's happening.
And my actions are suspicious, Dr. Phil.
And I've told him it's not the affair that would be bothering me. It's the way that I've been made to feel crazy and the way that he's treated me.
Is there anything that you haven't said that you want to say before I excuse you from this conversation? She's said to you what she wanted to say. Is there anything that you haven't said that you want to say?
I just hope that everything gets resolved. My name is cleared. You don't get called crazy or anything anymore. You know, we didn't do anything.
Okay, well, all right. I am going to excuse you in just a minute, and I'm going to tell you about these polygraph and DNA tests and what position I've taken on those after the break. Coming up, Angie says she would stay up at night after night, watching video looking for proof of Leslie in her home, but she had help. She's going to tell us about that.
When I found out that Leslie was pregnant, I was very concerned that it might be Joe's child.
After I had my son, Angie had messaged me asking me for a DNA test.
I believe that if Leslie was confident 100% that child was not Joe's, that she would take the DNA test. I don't know if the baby is Joe's. It possibly could be.
Leslie says her baby is definitely not Joe's, and she's willing to take a DNA test. They both said they were willing to take polygraph test. And I said no. I refused to give Joe a polygraph. I refused to give Leslie a polygraph. I refused to arrange for her to take a DNA test. Because I've been doing this a long time, and I have sense enough to know that it wouldn't be 30 seconds after giving the polygraph and the DNA test that you would say, yeah, but. In fact, in your interview, you said, yeah, but, before even the end of the interview, because you were asked, well, okay, if he passes the polygraph and she passes the polygraph and the DNA test, will that satisfy you? And you said, well, yes, but, well, you know, they might find out a way to, maybe. I mean, you started waffling on that. So, I mean, what's the point in doing that? Because you absolutely have confirmation bias here. You have made up your mind that Joe is having an affair, and he's having an affair with Leslie against common sense and against an absence of evidence, and you have confirmation bias, which means you're only seeking out information that supports your belief while ignoring any evidence that contradicts it. And the problem with people that have confirmation bias is when you give them evidence to the contrary, it just causes them to deepen their belief. And so I wanted to know if you would be open-minded about this, because I don't know whether he's having an affair or whether he's not. What I know is you don't have any proof that he is. Well, I started looking for an alternative explanation.
Yes.
That because first off, I think crazy is a very derogatory term, and I don't like it, and I certainly don't use it in my thinking about you. I don't think that you're crazy, as you use the term.
I apologize for saying it to her.
Well, I use it sometimes in a sloppy way, but I don't mean it in a derogatory way. Mental illness is mental illness, and I certainly don't think of you in a derogatory way, but I started looking for an alternative explanation about why you might believe this if it wasn't true. And according to family, you started harassing Leslie and accusing Joe of cheating around the same time you started taking Adderall. Take a look at this.
In 2016, I started taking phentermine prescribed by my doctor to lose weight. I was taking the phentermine 3 or 4 times a day to stay up during the night so I could listen to the audio recordings. Probably 3 or 4 months, the phentermine was not strong enough. I told my doctor that I was having a hard time focusing. She had me take a test and said that I was qualified to take Adderall. I originally was prescribed the Adderall from my doctor. It was a 10 milligram capsule 1 time a day. I took more Adderall on the days that I got upset or suspicious of Joe. There came a point when I would take up to 5 a day. The Adderall kept me hyper-focused on what Joe was doing. I do believe I'm addicted to Adderall, but I feel like I could stop taking the Adderall at any time once I feel secure in my life.
Well, I've added someone to the conversation to discuss the videotape we just looked at. This is Dr. Charles Sophie. Now, he is on the Dr. Phil Advisory Board, which is a board that I can rely on for objective input into complex cases that I'm dealing with. He's board certified in not 1, not 2, but 3 clinical specialties: adult psychiatry and child and adolescent psychiatry, as well as family practice. And he is also the medical director for the Department of Child and Family Services here in Los Angeles, which is the largest agency of its kind in the country. He says many of his clients ask for Adderall. And Dr. Sophie, they ask for it for a lot of different reasons other than the treatment of ADD or ADHD, correct?
Correct. I mean, unfortunately, it's not usually for ADHD. It's usually for weight loss or trying to stay up at night or power through something.
Yeah, and this is one of the drugs that really has become very popular and sought after because it gives people extra energy, gives them more staying power. They're able to stay awake and focus, right?
Yeah, it's speed. And she was on phentermine before that, which is speed as well.
Absolutely.
Right. So you were taking phentermine, then you started taking Adderall, and you were prescribed at first, I think, 5 milligrams, then 10 milligrams, but yet you say you've taken as much as 50
Yes.
milligrams in a day.
Yes.
Okay. And Dr. Sophie, what does Adderall do to brain chemistry, and what are the side effects of abusing Adderall, or even taking Adderall if you don't need it, but certainly abusing it beyond what's prescribed?
Well, the main focus and the way that it works in your brain is it changes the dopamine concentration in your brain. So it moves dopamine in the frontal part of your brain. So it's right behind your forehead. And then you are able to focus more. You're able to concentrate more. But your blood pressure goes up because that's what speed does. Cuts your appetite because that's what speed does. Doesn't let you sleep because that's what speed does.
Yes.
So you've been a speed addict for years now. It
Several
has
years.
changed you. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, absolutely. Towards the end of the year is when I took all my audio and video cameras down and realized that I thought that the Adderall was helping me and realized that it wasn't at that time.
But if you look at your video, do you see your hair?
Yes.
I mean, you look like you're out of control.
Yes.
All right. And what are some of the emotional side effects of abusing Adderall?
Well, I mean, you're up and you're down. You look like you're bipolar, actually. You're really high and you're energetic and you're happy. And when the drug wears out of your system, you plummet. It's like taking 10 cups of coffee, energetic, hitting a wall, taking more, and you keep that cycle going.
Right.
And if you have thoughts in your head, even before you started these drugs, that he might be fooling around, they become huge
Yes.
and they become your life.
You're seeing something that, frankly, objectively is just not there.
Oh, I just feel like that my feelings are not being validated.
In August of 2017, I was off of my Adderall for a whole month. On a Friday night, I fell asleep real early, and when Joe had went to bed that night, he had a long sleeve shirt on that was buttoned all the way up. When I woke up at 4:30 in the morning, his shirt was all the way unbuttoned and his underwear were on. And I immediately told him that I felt like I had been drugged. There were 3 particular days that I woke up at the same time, 4:30 in the morning, and felt real groggy. And at that point, I picked up a camera underneath my bed. The camera recorded 100+ motion videos from 2 to 5 o'clock in the morning. Blankets were moving, the bed was squeaking, and I could hear moaning. My theory is that there was someone in my bed with Joe having sex next to me.
I was asleep. I would not drug my wife.
I actually suspected that it could have been Leslie that drugged me. I eventually went to the police to file a report.
Angie had told the police that I had drugged her. The detective said, you know, it would be weird for a 19-year-old girl to be drugging a wife and dragging her down the hallway just to sleep with a 55-year-old man. The detective thought Angie was insane.
I need to find out once and for all if Joe is having this affair, or I need someone to tell me that I'm crazy.
This is a point where you're withdrawing from Adderall. You've 30 days of not taking this.
Yes.
And your system, you're roller coastering at this point. And so everything becomes exaggerated. And you have the side effects of depression, the side effects of paranoia, the side effects of hallucinations and delusional thought. Things that might be a fleeting thought become something you can get obsessed with, and you start to construct an entire delusional system around it. You start to hallucinate, see things that aren't there in something that might just be a benign video. You start reading into it things that aren't there. You have delusional thoughts that go along with it. You're seeing things in videos that I don't see. I've had many people look at these videos without saying a word to them and tell me what you see here. I haven't found anybody yet that's seen anything in those videos but you.
Right.
And it's changing your blood chemistry. It's changing your brain chemistries. And you've become obsessed with this by your own description, staying up all night, hours and hours, looking at these videos with this obsessive thought that you're going to find something. And you're seeing something that, frankly, objectively is just not there.
Why are you crying?
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's just I don't understand what you're thinking that's making you cry.
It's just been a very hard 2 years for me. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, but explain if you don't mind. Like, what is it?
It's just been a very tough 2 years for me.
I understand.
And I am here because I want a resolution to living like this. So,
But what makes you cry when he's talking to you? Because you stop and then you start. Are you thinking of something?
no, I just feel like that my feelings are not being validated, and I know that I have had valid feelings during this whole 2 years.
Yes. So you're
I
crying.
believe that he has had this affair, and so I don't believe it's all in my head.
So you're angry and you're frustrated because you don't think we're going to believe that it's happening.
Well, I guess I just wanted some type of resolution, and I guess
How much sleep
Like,
deprivation are you having? Do you sleep at night?
yeah, I have cut way down on my Adderall.
Before you cut it back, though.
Well, before that, I would stay up for several days at a time sometimes.
Well, just that alone is going to make anybody loopy.
Yeah, but now I don't do that.
I know, but then.
Right.
And so if you have that idea in your head,
Right.
it just reinforces it.
Absolutely. And I realized that when I stopped listening to my audio
Okay,
tapes
but
and
you say
videos.
you realize it, but you
Yes.
don't realize it because you still believe it.
No, I believe that he still had I believe that the
Okay,
affair.
but what do you realize then? You just said you realize what?
No, I realized that I had an issue with the Adderall.
But you realize the effects the Adderall has on your brain.
Absolutely.
No, you don't, or you wouldn't be saying that he has an affair. Like, sit out of yourself and look. There's nothing objective that really proves it, and you're on a drug or two for a long period of time that can shift your chemistry.
Well,
destroy
and you
your
guys didn't get to hear the tape that originally I had, which I accidentally erased,
which he does not want me to bring up. But.
Well, no, we'll talk about that. All right, we got to take a break. Coming up, can Angie and Joe's marriage survive this because she is embracing a certain thought? She said, look, I'm crying because my feelings aren't being validated, which means you're not telling me what I want to hear. I have a belief and you're not agreeing with me, and that upsets me because it makes me think that I've invested all of this time, effort, and energy into something that isn't true, which means either I am insane or I've gone down this road a wrong direction all of this time, and I want you to tell me what I want to hear. And that's why I said, why is it so important for you for him to be having an affair? There's an alternative explanation for that, and I'm going to unpack all of this for her in a few minutes. She may embrace this or she may not, and I'm going to tell Joe what his ownership in this is, because he's not innocent in all of this, but not for the reasons she thinks. We'll be right back. Closed captioning provided by...
I want Dr. Phil to help us because we have no one to turn to like him. I want my wife. Angie's my best friend. She's everything to me. I want Dr. Phil to make her realize after all this time, her husband's not having an affair on her.
I haven't seen a shred of evidence that suggests that he's having an affair with Leslie or anyone else. Now, it's like, I want you to tell me that he is so it will validate that I've not gone insane here because I believe this so desperately. But you started really believing this at the same time you started taking brain-altering chemicals.
Absolutely.
And that can make down look up. It can make dark look light. It can make everything look different than what it is. You have to understand you've put yourself where you're looking through some chemically altered goggles here that change everything that you're seeing, change what you believe. And as a result, you're looking at him in a way that is altered. You're not looking at him objectively. And peace at any price is no peace at all. What you're doing is selling yourself out to enter into her delusional system. That is not peace. And at some point, you've got to draw a line and say, I've told you I'm not having an affair, and I'm not answering that question another damn time.
I have
not
done that,
another
Dr.
damn
Phil.
time. If you're going to decide I am, then decide I am and do what you will. But I am not having an affair. I've told you I'm not having an affair. I will not be followed. I will not be questioned 24/7. I'm not going to be having you following me to work every day. I'm not going to be part of your delusional system. If you decide that I am, then do what you're going to do. So then you don't have anything to worry about. If that's what you want to decide, then decide it and do whatever you're going to do. Because he's not going to enable you with this belief system anymore.
That's what I need. I was mentioned.
So if you want to decide that he's the biggest scum in the world and he's having an affair in the bed next to you, which is absurdly bizarre. I've dealt with the biggest psychopaths, scumbags in the world, and they don't have sex in bed next to their wives. I mean, come on, does that make common sense?
Not at all.
I mean, if he was going to have an affair, he wouldn't do it that way. Then you put a motion detector under the bed and it moves during the night. Well, listen, I've worked in sleep labs when I was doing my training, and people don't lay like corpses during the night. They move, they wiggle, they turn. It's astounding how much people move during the night. There are alternative explanations for everything you offer as evidence.
Did you trust the doctor who's writing these prescriptions for you?
Absolutely.
You need to trust him.
I
And you need to go and believe that there's a possibility that this could be happening to you. No one is saying that you don't think these things. I believe you think them, but they're not reality. So if you trusted the doctor who did it to you, you got to trust the doctor who can help you.
Okay.
Why did he give you Adderall?
Well, I was originally on the phentermine to lose weight, And
How'd that work for you?
well, it worked the first time I took it. I'd lost like 30 pounds, so I took it again.
How much you gained back?
Exactly. I probably gained 20 back. And then the second time I tried it was this particular time, and I didn't lose anything. But my main thing was once I quit my job, I had to work from home with Joe. I did his sales and customer service, and so I needed to focus more. And probably because I was hyper-focusing on him having an affair with the phentermine, that's when the Adderall, I started using more of it because it was stronger.
And this doctor gave you Adderall. Did this doctor do any kind of brain scan to see if you had a depressed level of activity in your neocortex that needed to be supported by Adderall?
She did not do that. She did a written test that I took.
Coming up, Joe says Angie has always been insecure about their marriage. We're going to find out why when we come back. Closed captioning provided by Okay, I'm back with Angie and Joe, and Angie has been convinced that Joe's having an affair, and something that you're struggling with right now is you're trying to decide, are you telling me that I'm not thinking what I'm thinking, or are you telling me that I'm lying to myself? What is it you're telling me? Right?
Absolutely.
And Dr. Sophie said it very clear. You are thinking what you're thinking, and we tend to believe ourselves. You're telling yourself that he's doing what he's doing. You just have no basis for it.
Well, I believe I have basis for it just because I believe women have
No.
intuition.
You're telling yourself you have a basis for it.
Right. Well, like I said, in the beginning, I had more proof than what I have now, and I did let other people listen to it.
But do you understand
and heard the same thing?
The proof that you're using is a little bit like this that you then blow up into a reality because of the medication and the brain changes in your chemistry. The other thing you need to think about is what are the effects that have happened to you since you retired? You probably don't feel useful as much as you did.
No, I don't.
And that you're projecting a lot of that, I'm not good enough, he'll want somebody else. All of that stuff gets through that filter.
And about Adderall, you said something that was really interesting to me about Adderall. This really jumped out to me. You said, I will stop taking Adderall when I'm secure. And you will feel secure when you stop taking Adderall.
Right.
And you need to understand the difference between anxiety and fear. Anxiety is a nervous disorder that's characterized by excessive uneasiness and apprehension in the absence of realistic threat. Fear is a proportionate apprehension to a realistic threat. Now, what's that mean to you?
I really don't have any answer for that.
Too many words.
Yes.
Okay, let me explain. Let me explain what I mean. Anxiety is excessive uneasiness. Excessive.
Yes.
Too much.
Yes.
In the absence of a realistic threat. So, if I come into your kitchen and I say, snake, and you get up and dive through the picture window, okay, that is excessive uneasiness in the absence of a realistic threat. Now, on the other hand, if I come in and I put a snake on your kitchen table, and so you get up and you run out the door, okay, that's a proportionate reaction to a realistic threat. There's a real snake on your kitchen table.
Yeah.
That's fear. That's when you have an appropriate reaction to a real threat.
Yes.
The problem is when you have a exaggerated reaction when there's no real threat. You don't have any real evidence that he's having an affair, but you're having a lot of anxiety about it. And you're paralyzed because you're on drugs. Now, what are we going to have to do to fix this?
I'm not sure that's why I'm here.
Do you need help with this?
I believe in my heart that I can stop.
Stop what?
Taking the Adderall.
Can you stop obsessing? I mean, has this gotten you to the point that you have lost control of your life and you need to get it back?
Yes, I'm depressed, very depressed. And I want to start living again.
Well, I'm going to tell you what Angie can do immediately to stop this session when we come back. I've asked the Dr. Kaligis, father and daughter, to come here today. Dr. Kaligi is the CEO and founder of Creative Care. His daughter, Farah Kaligi, is the clinical director of Creative Care, and they have a dual diagnosis treatment center, and they know firsthand about Adderall abuse, let me assure you, and how profound an effect it can have on your thinking, your feeling, your functioning, sleep disruption. And you're in a perfect storm right now. And I want to help you with this. And doctors, what do you have to say about this? Don't you think she needs just a little time to hit the reset button?
Absolutely. I think, like you all have been saying, we want to taper you down from the Adderall. I'm very interested in the family history, what else had happened prior to this marriage in your own family, and deal with the depression, deal with the anxiety, get you some sleep, and get you back on right track.
I'm offering you this help if you want it.
Okay.
You willing to consider it?
Yes.
Okay.
Dr. Phil's plan for Angie was to go to Creative Care for some intensive inpatient treatment. So we brought the team in. We brought Angie in, and we gave them the chance to talk, answer questions, and get her going in the next step. Well, Angie was not interested at all. She didn't have any intention of leaving her family. She was sobbing and very emotional. Thinks she knows she needs help, but wasn't willing to go get it. When we brought Joe in to try to help and support and see if we could get Angie going where she needs to go, Joe said, I can help her myself. She doesn't need to go. Unfortunately, both of them went home and walked away from the amazingly generous resource offer that Dr. Phil had made for them.